Claire Lucie, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's great. For our listeners and for our viewers, are you able to just tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Claire Lucie. I am a CMA registered canine nutritionist and also a speaker and the founder of the Vegan Dog Coach. It's an educational website and platform. And we have taught dog parents from 65 countries, a little bit more than 65, but we stopped counting at 65 countries about the health benefit and safety of a plant-based diet for dogs.
That's amazing. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of this, but just to give our listeners and viewers a bit of an understanding, can you tell us a little bit about your vegan journey, about what inspired you to go vegan?
Yes, of course. So I was born in Belgium, and I grew up in a beautiful area of France, which is called Alsace. I don't know if it's the right pronunciation. And now I live part-time in Canada and part-time in the UK. And I had like the opportunity to have like a very uncommon and healthy upbringing. And with my siblings, we grew up in the middle of nature, and I was homeschooled for most of my uh, uh, school years.
Mhm.
And I grew up being surrounded by all kinds of animals, uh, including geese, ducks, chickens, cats, rabbits, and like they were not for food; they were like companion animals for us. And also, I grew up with Blackie, which was our technically it was my brother's dog, but it was like just a family dog.
Yeah.
In and I was mostly vegetarian for 25 years. I never like loved the taste of meat, and I am allergic to dairy, so I,
Oh,
it was not
that makes
something
it
like
easy.
yeah that makes things easier. And I became totally vegan 4 years ago, inspired by my younger sister, and who became vegan when she was 4. And also after having worked in the pet industry and seeing how the helpful ways that animals were treated and dying into that for that industry, and like it's the two main factors why I became vegan. And for me also, like slowly it became totally unnatural to eat animals. So that's a little bit about what led me into becoming vegan. And like it's a journey, of course, like for like it is for any of us. So I wish I had become vegan earlier than that, but
Yeah,
like
that's that's the kind of classic thing, isn't it? Every vegan says, "Oh, I just wish I'd gone vegan sooner." Um,
yeah, yeah,
but it's
you
true, isn't
regret
it?
like. But the important, I think, is the change that you can do now, and also it's the present that count, and your current choices. Um, so it's definitely a journey, but
Wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about everything that you do. So what kind of what was it that led you to kind of advocate for like the plant-based diets for dogs? And how did the vegan dog coach kind of come about?
yeah.
How did that start?
So in the beginning of 2021, Blackie got diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer in dogs. And we had his main tumor surgically removed by a vet, but we refused further treatment for that because, considering the state Blackie was in with his kidney and everything, it was very clear for us that it would have created even more damage to his health to further treatment for the cancer. And instead of continuing the treatment, we were in my family, we were already a lot into nutrition, etc. My mother has been like for 30 years into nutrition, etc. So we choose to change his diet from meat-based kibble to a homemade plant-based diet because my sister dog, Luna, was already being fed that way, and we have already seen also like the amazing benefit on her. And after a few months, the cancer was completely reversed. Like there was no cancer anymore. So it was like very, very shocking. And that's something you cannot imagine before you see that happen. And like the we also saw that it slowed down like in a very consequent way the progression of his kidney disease. And also with the arthritis that he had like very bad arthritis, and some days he was not able to stand up. He was he just he was just laying down and screaming in pain if anything would touch him or if we would try to lift him up or anything. And after, I don't remember how many months, but it was not years. It was maybe 6 months. I don't remember exactly because I wish I had not everything, but I didn't. And we see such an incredible improvement in the arthritis in his back legs. And he did not show any more sign of pain. So he didn't had those days where he was not able to stand up or anything like that, and he was running again and just like 5 or 6 years before that. So it was very, very impressive. And also I had not like a very specific improvement. Also, he had a cataract in his left eyes, and with like the veil, the white things
Oh,
on
yeah.
his eyes. Yeah, and it totally disappeared. Like and it's like physical manifestation like that that you can see, and it blow your mind to see that, especially when, like myself, you are only believing in science, and you are very like you have to see things with your own eyes to
Yeah.
believe that. And so it was like it has such a big impact on myself, and looking back, it I I can tell that being fed a homemade plant-based diet added 2.5 more years to his life. Otherwise, he would have been dead um,
Wow. And
much
that's,
earlier.
yeah, and it's such a quick, you're
Yeah,
talking about a matter of months seeing the
yeah,
change. That's
yeah. The
really,
the change were very, very quick, but it's not very surprising because when you are diving deep into that, a homemade plant-based diet, when there is no processed food, is the most anti-inflammatory diet that you can possibly eat. And yeah, it's like it is related to a lot of the issues that he had, especially the arthritis, etc. So when you are diving into that, it's like you understand why. But yeah, it was very, very impressive, and that's what led me to into canine nutrition and why I became so passionate about it. And for in my head, if a cancer like he had can be reversed with a plant-based nutrition, a plant-based diet, I was wondering what else can a plant-based diet do for dogs and also for humans. But for humans, we have more data, more testimonies, etc., because we are able to share that as humans, and dogs cannot speak about that. So we have to to share when it happens. It's very important. And in 2021, I started an online training in canine nutrition. And in March 2022, I graduated as a canine nutritionist with a distinction and got registered with it's like a very good certification body, the CMA, Complementary Medical Association. And that was the beginning of my nutrition journey.
No, brilliant.
And since then, I've been reading, analyzing, and synthesizing over 1,000 scientific studies on the effect of the gut microbiome on every aspect of canine health and the role of nutrition in the development of disease, how the diet influences the health and longevity, and also the process of disease development in dogs, and how nutrition could modulate those processes. Um, and I have also spoke with medical doctors and veterinarians endorsing a plant-based diet for both dogs and humans because it's very, very similar. And most of them told me that they have had many cases of different types of cancer being reversed, but also allergies, the improvement of cardiovascular disease, skin condition, epilepsy, like a lot of disease. And it was amazing and so surprising to hear
Yeah,
similar result.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
we hear a lot in terms of humans with problems, particularly with diabetes, that a
Yeah,
vegan
no,
diet's quite often something that's really helpful in reversing
yeah,
or
absolutely.
to help with the recovery. But for you to kind of take that and to hear about it in animals as well, it's it's amazing, and it feels like we're at the start of this kind of journey especially for
Yeah,
animals.
yeah,
And it must be really exciting for you to be, right here, right now doing this.
yeah. It's such a privilege, and I am grateful every day for that. Big and there is so much science when available already, and dogs of all animals are the one that are have the closest have been evolving in the closest way to humans, and we can see how it affected them. For example, they now have the same gut microbiome as we do, and we know that the gut microbiome is the baseline of health in both in humans and in dogs as well. That's where most of the disease start in the gut microbiome. Even chronic condition like cancer or arthritis. And dogs also develop more than 300 diseases in common with humans. We are also over 90% identical on a genetic level,
Oh,
and we require the same nutrients, only in slightly different quantities. So we are extremely similar. And our organs are similar and works in a similar ways. So it's and it was shaped because of our joint evolution.
that's
Uh,
yeah, that's
that's
amazing. The
fascinating.
similarities. Yeah,
Yeah,
90%. That's
about
wow, that's a lot.
90% identical. Yeah. So we share an almost identical DNA with our dogs. So that's pretty insane to think about.
Yeah, I did not realize it was that high. I didn't realize that it was 90%. That's insane. That's great, but wow.
Yeah, because it gives a lot for health professional. It gives a lot of data to
Yeah.
understand the health and disease development in dogs a lot better because they develop cancer in the same way. In many ways it's identical or very, very similar. And that's s- so incredible to have those data to understand and to be able to apply that science because you can help so many dogs by doing that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I am.
Yeah, it really is. It's
And all of that is what led me to dedicate my life to this mission with the goal. My main goal is to change how dogs are fed and I have the aim to help 10 million dogs to transition to plant-based diets to improve their health and longevity, because there is like epidemic levels of disease in dogs, and nutrition is responsible for the most of that. So by improving their nutrition, we can do so much in improving their health and longevity.
That's brilliant. And obviously we've got a lot of kind of dog owners. How could people who are watching this, at home, how can people ensure that their companion animals will receive all the necessary nutrients on a vegan diet? I mean, you've obviously done a lot of kind of studying into this, but are there any specific supplements or foods that you think are crucial for maintaining that kind of balanced diet for dogs?
So it's a broad question because it depends on which diet the dog is fed with. And I would say the first thing is to understand that a plant-based diet can give a dog the exact same nutrients as a meat-based or fish-based diet, and that all of the nutrients a dog needs can be obtained in the right quantity and with similar bioavailability from plant sources or vegan supplements. And dog can be healthy and thrive on a plant-based diet as long as it's nutrient complete and balanced. And it's feeding a dog a plant-based diet does not represent any risk of nutritional deficiencies or diet-related disease or death, as long as they get all of those nutrients that they need. And just before answering your question, if that's okay, I would like to share very interesting statistics about pet food. So it's a great way to illustrate the matter of nutrient deficiency, etc., within the pet food industry. And there was published record shared, and it consists of the analysis of 177 dry and wet commercial pet food that are sold within the UK. And the results are very, very shocking because it shows that only 6% of wet and 38% of dry foods were nutritionally complete. And 20% of all wet food failed to provide the nutritional minimum requirement. Oh. And 76 of wet food exceeded the nutritional maximum allowed by authorities in the UK.
Wow.
And that study conclude that if fed exclusively and over an extended period of time, a number of these pet food could impact the general health of companion animals. And there is a lot of talk done about potential danger of dogs being fed a plant-based diet because they couldn't get all of the nutrients, etc. It's false, but it's also like they are no more at risk of nutritional deficiency when fed a plant-based diet. So it's very, very important that we have that. Sometimes we have that belief that because you are buying pet foods from the store, it's like nutritionally complete and healthy for your dog, and that those numbers shows that it's not the case. And
it's it happens a lot. It is people think they're doing the right thing, but actually it's like the B12 argument, isn't it? That can be found, you can only get B12 in meat and cheese, and it's like, what percentage is in that chicken breast? And nobody knows because it's a byproduct of the feed, right? Yeah. If they do even do it.
Absolutely. And you know what? When while speaking about B12, chlorella, which is an algae, is actually the most bioavailable form of B12 for dogs and humans. And it has more B12 in 3 grams of chlorella than in 100 grams of red meat. And not all chlorella do have B12 because it depends on their method of culture. So, but the chlorella produced with the right method of culture, which do have B12, those are like the B12 level in chlorella. So it's like it's also something that I share in my conference, because it's education is really the key in dog nutrition, but I think in every aspect of life, with everything in life, education is like truly crucial.
Agreed.
And
There's so many misconceptions, isn't there, as well? It's just people not really questioning. A lot of people think that, dogs need meat to thrive. And how do you kind of, I mean, it's great because you obviously do the conferences and you do your speeches, but how do you address a lot of these misconceptions that people often have?
So just before answering that, I would like to share like a very, very interesting fact to finish with.
Of course.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
So beside the result of the with the nutritional deficiencies and nutritional issues with pet food that I just shared, there is something amazing that I love to share in my conference. If a dog is fed any type of commercial meat-based or fish-based pet food, they got 99% of their nutrition from vegan sources. And it is due to the fact that commercial pet food, the manufacturing method of commercial pet food, which includes extended eating at extremely high temperatures and intense pressure, usually paired with low quality ingredients, result in an almost complete loss of the nutrients that were originally found in the food ingredients, the basic ingredients. And to palliate to that, the pet food manufacturers are adding what we call synthetic nutrients that are added into the mix to compensate for that major nutrient loss, and to be able to meet also the nutritional standards, even though we saw that they are not always meeting those standards. Yeah, and synthetic nutrients are produced in laboratories using chemicals and petroleum derivatives, and they are intended to replace naturally existing nutrients. And the one thing that is great with synthetic nutrients is that they are completely vegan. There is no animal substances in them. And I say that 99% of all the pet food in the world the nutrition in all pet food worldwide are already vegan. I don't say 100% because some pet food manufacturers are adding animal-derived vitamin D instead of the synthetic one. And a few of them are also adding fish-derived omega-3, but it's like very, very rare. So I cannot say 100%, but definitely 99% or more of all the pet food we can find in any store, the nutrition in it is from vegan sources, not from the actual, food that you can see on the packaging, like the meat, broccoli, the apple. It's not coming from that, the nutrition that our dogs get. And it's the same with plant-based commercial pet food as well. And often it's even the same brands of synthetic nutrients. So if you used to feed your dog with plant-based kibble and you transition to from meat-based kibble and you transition to plant-based kibble, there will be absolutely no changes in their nutrition. They will get the exact same nutrients.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that makes sense, if it's explained
no,
easy to understand way, but
all the nutritional values derived from vegan and plant-based sources as opposed to any of the meat or any of the fish.
From synthetic nutrients, from substances that are added in order to because at one stage of the manufacturing process of pet food, the ingredients after the heating process, etc., it's just like a brown paste. And in that brown paste, there is almost no nutrients remaining, amino acids, minerals, vitamins. And that's when the manufacturer had the synthetic nutrients in order to put back the nutrients into the food, and then like the process go on. And so every dogs in the world that are fed with commercial pet food get their nutrition from synthetic nutrients. And those nutrients are vegan. So we don't have to fear that a dog is being fed a plant-based diet, because they are not getting their... It's different if you are feeding your dog like raw meat. It's very different. But with commercial pet food, it can be kibble or, canned food. It's the same manufacturing process, just a little bit different at the end, but most of the manufacturing process is the same. So it's
very interesting. And I guarantee a lot of people are not aware of that. It's all about the manufacturing process and how it's added in.
No, because it's well known, but not a lot of people are speaking about that. But when you dive into with the previous company that I developed, it was plant-based dog collar. At some point, I started developing a range of pet food back in 2019, and so I started working within the pet food industry and doing speaking with manufacturers and really entering that industry, and that's how also I learned all of that. And yeah, they most of them do not care about the health of dogs.
No, money making, and it's just another business, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And to finish your question, if a dog is fed a good quality commercial plant-based diet, such as kibble, a nutritional supplement shouldn't be required, as commercial pet food are supposed to be nutritionally complete, but it's complicated. But normally you don't have to add a supplement.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And that's very interesting. Now I'm going to circle back again to the kind of, that ties in with the kind of misconceptions that people have, around the idea that dogs need meat to thrive and things like this. Do you think it is very much a case of it just being a piece of education, that there's a huge gap in people's knowledge and understanding of what their dogs are eating, where it's coming from?
Yeah, so I just have to add that if the dog is fed an homemade plant-based diet, you do have to add a dietary supplement in order for them to have the few vitamins and minerals and amino acids they to make sure it's nutrient complete. So
that's okay.
Yeah. So yes, I agree with what you said, that most people are under this wrong belief that dogs need meat because it's their instinct and their descent from wolves, etc. I think you also heard a lot of those.
Of course.
of those misconceptions. And there's a few myths around that we can easily just crush. So a very popular myth is that if our dogs are fed a plant-based diet or a diet free of meat, they will become deficient in a non-essential amino acid, taurine, and develop cardiac disease. And it's so many people are believing that, and so many veterinarians are also, fueling that belief. And fortunately for us, that information is not the truth and is not backed by any evidence. And taurine is classified as a non-essential amino acid for dogs, so it's non-essential for them. because they produce the taurine they require from within their bodies, from essential amino acid methionine and cysteine, which are widely available from plant foods and vegan supplements. And some dogs are unable to synthesize enough taurine due to a variety of causes. It can be a disease or some bread also, but it's very uncommon. And in those cases, we can give a vegan taurine supplement to help with that. And yeah, it's maybe you have heard about that a little bit. There are also many dog parents that are concerned about if they start feeding their dogs a plant-based diet, they would develop DCM, which is dilated cardiomyopathy. And after years of investigation, the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration in the US, was published their report, and they were unable to identify any clear link between certain diets, such as plant-based diet, and the development of non-hereditary cardiac dilated cardiomyopathy. So there is no link between heart disease and a plant-based diet in dogs. So it's very, because I don't know if you heard about that, but it's one of the main arguments against feeding dogs a plant-based diet. So it's very good that they published their report.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah. And there are other myths also that surround the evolution of dogs and that they are carnivores, etc. So maybe I can speak a little bit about that. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So technically, domesticated dogs are part of the order Carnivora, which often get confused with being carnivorous. And while, it's like people when they hear that, oh, but my dog is part of the Carnivora order. Yeah, it should be carnivore. But that's two very distinct things. And while the animals in the Carnivora orders all share a dental structure that originally evolved for shredding meat, many of the species within the Carnivora order have now evolved to be omnivores. For example, raccoon, foxes, bears, and a few of them are completely herbivorous, such as the giant panda. And even though dogs do share an ancient common ancestor with foxes, raccoons, wolves, and bears, that ancestor extend roughly 30,000 years ago. So it's
All
not all removed. And scientists have also found that domesticated dogs have split genome with wolves between 27 to 40,000 years ago, which means they have become a completely distinct species with a distinct DNA and also distinct nutritional requirement. So it's also important to understand that.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. It was that far back. That it was that it's totally separate, completely.
It's totally separate, and despite what we commonly believe, dogs are not carnivorous at all. They have evolved into what we call omnivorous scavengers. And as explained by the National Research Council of the National Academies here in Canada, and despite that, they are often wrongly classified as carnivorous, by people, by veterinarians, by pet food manufacturers, on the packaging, it's carnivorous diet. It's very, very common. But in fact, their physiology has evolved to allow them to thrive on high starch meals and human diets. And as we can see, reading the science, the evolutionary adaptation includes tooth shortening and also significant modification to the digestive system. And even wolves, on the other hand, they are not obligate carnivore, but facultative carnivores, which means they consume meat, but also plants because they need that for their nutrition. So there is so many, misconception around that, and it's another.
And it's like you say, it's the misconceptions are everyone from vets through to the food manufacturers
Yeah.
to everything.
Yeah, and there is no evidence to back those myths or those popular beliefs. And it's very important because in my work, in my conference, etc., I am only worked based with all of my work is based on published scientific data and studies. So it's like usually people are very, very receptive because
Yeah. Facts.
they just, they are just happy to hear. And, I don't know if you hear that maybe already, but, the shape and length of a dog teeth are frequently claimed to justify feeding meat to them, right? It's very, very, very popular. And what is very fun is when we look at the both the domesticated dog and the giant panda, they share a very, very similar dental structure and similar in the number of teeth, length of the teeth, and also shape of the teeth. And the giant panda, like I said, like dogs, he belongs to the carnivora order, but he's entirely herbivorous. And it's like, they are so different in terms of diet, yet they have very similar dental structure and same number of teeth. And so there is no justification to feed meat to dogs because of their dental structure. And omnivorous animals and animals that consume both meat and plants, such as foxes or raccoon, bears, they have 40 to 42 teeth. And some herbivores also, like the giant panda, have 42 teeth, and domesticated dogs have 42 teeth. And obligate carnivore, on the other hand, such as lions and tigers, they have 30 to 32 teeth. So there is on so many different angles, there is so many science showing that our dogs are not carnivorous.
No, absolutely.
And it's and even in the way that they evolved alongside humans through their domestication, their period of domestication, it's fascinating.
It is.
And so that's a fact that I think will blow your mind and also blow the mind of the people listening to us. But according to science, it appeared, and also the discovery of historians and archaeologists, it appeared that domesticated dogs have been primarily vegetarian and plant-based for over 7,000 years.
Oh.
And
wow. That's a staggering fact.
Yeah. And we can see, if we look at both scientific data and the findings of historians and archaeologists, we can see that meat has not been a substantial element of domesticated dogs' diet since around the Neolithic period. And scientists discovered that over 7,000 years ago, as a result of being fed primarily whole grains for an extended period of time, dogs went through a major increase in starch digestive genes. And they now have up to 30 copies of the gene AMY2B, which is for the digestion of starch, which is similar to humans, when wolves, for example, only have 2 copies of that gene. So once again, we are very, very similar, even on that level. And it's fascinating. And it started for until 1941 approximately. The main ingredients in a dog diet were old bread, cooked vegetables, some occasional raw bones, milk, a little bit of meat, but not a lot. It also depended on the social status of the dog's family and on the time in history, etc. And also whole grains. Whole grains was the main ingredient in a dog's diet since the Neolithic period until 1941. And that's the time where the kibble start to become popular. And around that time, we started to give an carnivore diet to dogs, a diet very, very heavy in meat. And it's very challenging because it represents like a brutal change in terms of diet, and the canine body requires 3,000 to 4,000 years to adjust to a new diet. And it makes the fact that meat has been such like a secondary, has not been a principal ingredient in a dog's diet for such a long time. They are not biologically adapted to an high meat or carnivore diet anymore because they have evolved eating very little to no meat. And the problem now is that the percentage of meat in a typical dog's diet is 60 to 75%, and many of the commercial pet food are exceeding 90% of meat. And that's insane because in comparison, for example, for the lion or the tiger, which are obligate carnivore, and they are classified as hyper-carnivore, their diet contains at least 70% of meat. But science shows that even for the obligate carnivores, such as lion and tiger living in the wild, they still eat plant matters for nutrition. And it makes absolutely no sense that we feed our dogs a diet that has often more meat than many obligate carnivore in the wild. It's absolutely, it's so shocking because, they are biologically not adapted to that anymore. And here in America, I see that many commercial dog food are wrongly manufactured based on the prey diet of the gray wolf or obligate carnivore diet, and they contain often over 90% of meat, which is it causes a lot of disease in dogs to be fed with those types of diet.
Yeah,
It's totally wrong.
it is.
And
Interesting.
it doesn't take it into consideration their evolution or anything. So it's
No, it's really interesting. I wanted to ask you as well about the kind of, you've touched on it briefly, but the kind of impact on the environment. You know as well as I do that the environmental impact of feeding dogs such a high meat-based diet is staggering. But could you talk a little bit maybe more about the environmental footprint of pet food production and how switching to kind of a vegan diet can make a big difference?
Yeah, of course. So the pet food industry is having such a profound and bad negative impact on our environment and is compromising even further the future of our planet. And because as reports shows, Each year, the pet food industry produces more carbon emissions than the whole of the UK
Wow.
and uses more water than all fresh water in Denmark. So it's insane. And Professor Andrew Knight spoke about that, and he said if all dogs in the world were fed a plant-based diet, we could feed an additional, I think it was 400 million people.
Wow.
So it's insane. And by choosing a plant-based diet for our dogs, we can significantly reduce our impact on the environment. Like us, when we choose to not eat meat anymore, we have such a positive impact on the environment and the future of our planet, simply. So it's very important to consider that, and when we are choosing a diet for our dogs and our cats also, it's very, very important.
400 million people
Yeah,
these are
I think
outstanding figures.
yeah, I think that's 469 million people, if I remember well. But I have to check the exact, but it's 400 million and something. I don't
Wow.
remember the exact figure, but yeah, it's, and yeah, sorry.
No, that's an incredible point. I mean, yeah, it makes a huge huge environmental footprint difference basically to if they
Yeah,
switch to a plant-based diet.
yeah, especially that biologically, physiologically, or nutritionally, the dogs don't have any requirement for meat. And it's something very important that I learned from Professor Kelly Swanson from the University of Illinois. He is doing a lot of research on the plant-based diet for dogs and cats. And he says that dogs and cats, but in this podcast we are speaking most about dogs, don't have specific ingredient requirement. So meat or, but they have very strict nutrient requirements. So it means that as long as they get all of the nutrients they require, dogs can, if we only consider the nutrition aspect, dogs can be fed any type of diet as long as they get all the nutrients they require. Of course, when only speaking about nutrition, there is the health aspect to consider, the environmental aspect, the ethical aspect. Like there is more to consider when choosing a diet for your dog. But in terms of nutrition alone, it make no difference as long as they get all of the nutrients they require. And yeah,
Brilliant.
maybe
No.
it was sorry.
No, go on, continue.
Maybe it was something that you were about to ask, but also the ethical impact on the pet food industry is quite significant as well.
It is. Yeah, no, I wanted
Yeah.
to actually touch on the kind of future of pet nutrition with you. Obviously, there's a rising popularity of plant-based diets for humans and for companion animals now. But I wanted to find out from you, where do you see the future of kind of animal and pet nutrition heading? Do you think that plant-based diets for dogs are something that's going to be much more mainstream in the future?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe to put a little bit of context into that, I can touch briefly on the reality of the what the meat, etc., used in the pet food industry and why it's not sustainable for the future. Maybe it's related to the question, and we'll put a little bit of context to answer that then in a way that so people can have a little bit of numbers and everything to see what it's not possible to continue that in the future simply. So I think from my perspective and from what I have heard from clients and followers and just people I spoke with, many dog parents have that belief that the meat used to manufacture food for dogs and cats come from slaughter waste or animals that are not good for human consumption, things like that. And this is also widely spread by the pet food industry, which kind of position themselves like a recycling industry, you know. And however, published reports shows that 69.5% of all meat used by the pet food industry is coming from premium meat sources. So it's meat that is good for human consumption. And over 7 billion land animals are raised and slaughtered with the main purpose to be used to manufacture dog and cat food every year. And this is such a shocking figure because it represents 9% of all land animals in the world that are raised and slaughtered each year are killed for the pet food industry. So it's incredibly high. It's like we are almost at 10% of all land animal slaughter in the world each year are just to make dog and cat food. It's insane. And I think as vegan, because we live a compassionate lifestyle, we must encourage plant-based diet for dogs and for cats. Even if we don't have dog or cat ourselves, because it's like, I think I cannot speak for all vegan, but I think our main value is the respect of every animal lives. And it goes like, it's so important to even if we don't have dogs or cats ourselves, to just support a plant-based diet for dogs and cats and not to be against it. It's very, very important, and understand the science behind it. And because there is such a profound change. Imagine if 9% or 7 billion land animals would be, we would avoid the death of 7 billion land animals every year. It would be massive, 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 massive. And yeah, it's, from my perspective, feeding our dogs an ingredient, meat in this case, that they don't have any requirement for, either on a physiological, nutritional, or biological level, and that is not even healthy for them, doesn't make any sense.
It really
it's just
doesn't.
no. And by choosing a plant-based diet for our dogs, we can save so many animals' lives. And I did the calculation for that. Maybe I can share.
Yeah,
Because
please do. Yeah.
So each year, by giving your dog a plant-based diet, you may save the life of either 241 chicken, 4 pigs, 16 lamb, 8 deers, 1 cow, or 72 turkeys. Not all of them, but it depends which type of food your dog is fed with. So it's either so it's quite big. And if we take a dog that lives for, I believe I took 40 years, by feeding them a plant-based diet from an early age until for their whole life, we can save 2,555 chicken, 44 pigs, 170 lamb, 83 deers, 10 cows, or 766 and 66 turkeys. So
huge numbers, and that's just 40 years. That's one animal, right? In 40 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I think many people don't realize how much of an impact it can have just by feeding their dogs a diet that is just the healthiest, because science demonstrate that the plant-based diet is the single most studied form of diet for dogs, and it has the greatest amount of evidence for, and we have no recorded side effects to date. And it shows that the science on plant-based diet for dogs shows that it's the healthiest, safest, and least hazardous way to feed our dogs. So the science is very, very clear on that. And the dogs fed a plant-based diet are less sick, living for longer, going less to the vet. So it's very, very clear.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great to hear it from you as well, you know, to get all of the facts and to get those numbers, because they are quite astounding. What I want to do is, just before we kind of finish off, is to just ask you a little bit about your upcoming kind of global tour and what people can expect from your talks, and also if there's any resources that you could recommend for listeners and viewers who've listened to what you've said today and they're really interested in learning more. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
So in 2025, I will be speaking at vegan festivals, animal rights conferences and summit, and sustainability summit also in Europe, in the UK, in Asia, New Zealand, the USA, and Canada.
Wow.
And I will, with my conference, the safety and health benefits of a plant-based diet for dogs, and based on published data and research, scientific research. And with my team, we will also be organizing our own conferences. And all of the information about that are available on my website, www.thevegan.coach.com. We can maybe put the link in description or something. If people want to get all the information about our future events. Everyone who wants to learn more about plant-based diet for dogs are welcome to join. We are going to a lot of different countries in the world, like I said. Regarding the resources, if someone wants to properly transition their dog to a plant-based diet in a safe way and to ensure that they got all of the nutrients they require, I have a feeding guide that they can download on my website, which maybe, I don't know, you can also put the link in the description.
Absolutely, What's the link for the guide? We can find it and we can add it in.
I can send it to you. I don't have that in mind. And also, if someone is currently feeding their dog a plant-based diet but aren't sure they are getting all the nutrients they need, or if they have health issues, some particular disease, etc., I also do consultation that can be booked on my website. And I am also developing easy and nutrient complete, tasty, delicious recipes for dogs that people can prepare at home for their dogs, but also for themselves, because we can eat a lot of the same foods, which will be available at the beginning of 2025 on my website as well. So for those who want to feed their dogs a homemade plant-based diet.
Beautiful. Well, that was so interesting. Thank you so much for chatting to us, Claire. That was so interesting.
Thank you for having me, and it was like a pleasure to have this conversation. And I hope like a lot of people can get value from it and learn something that they didn't know, and maybe also offer their dogs with a healthier diet. Thank you so much.
I'm sure they will. Thank you so much, and good luck with everything for next year and beyond. Yes, and keep us updated. Thank you so much for that.